Which platform should you be using as an RTT therapist or hypnotherapist to grow your RTT or therapy practice? I'm Jonathan Butler, and I'm going to share with you everything you need to know about the various platforms to help you make that decision. Understand the pros and cons. I'm going to give you my recommendation for what I think you should be using. And also at the end of this video, I'm going to share with you two absolutely critical things are even more important than this choice you make around your social media platform. These two things will really help your practice to the next level, get there quicker, avoid the overwhelming mistakes that many of us make on our journey. So let's start off then talking about what are the key social media platforms that you should be thinking about. Well, the key players are Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or X, of course, as it is now, LinkedIn, and YouTube. There are others, but really these are the main players. So one or possibly a combination of these may well be the right choice for you. But I really would encourage you to think about the one that is the best for you and focus on being good at that, on being visible on that and making that work for you. Now, whatever platform you're thinking about, whatever social media platform you're looking to work with, something you really need to understand is that getting reach organically, that means basically posting organic content, not paying for adverts, is getting harder and harder and harder. Pretty much all of the platforms are making it harder to get found organically. So that's something really important to be aware of. It doesn't mean it's impossible. Some are harder than others, and some simply need more work. Some need more work, but are worth the effort. So those are the key platforms that you're probably thinking about using. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to walk through each one of those with the pros, the cons, the things that you need to think about. So let's start off then with Facebook. Probably the longest standing, probably the biggest number of active subscribers out there. This really is the one that many of you as RTT therapists will be familiar with because it's used widely, certainly by RTT, and I know a lot of you are on this platform. So it's massive, it is out there, its reach is incredible, and of course it also contains or is allied with Instagram, which means you can share content between those two platforms. So there's a lot of things going for Facebook. Also, what is really, really helpful about Facebook is they have a tremendous understanding and insight into data. They understand how to put the right content in front of the right people, and that is very powerful. Facebook is the largest and the oldest and probably the most mature social media platform out there. It's got lots of functionality. It gives you the ability to have personal pages, to have business pages. It has the opportunity to have groups and communities, and right now Facebook is pushing communities really, really hard. And as an RTT therapist, and if you're a hypnotherapist, you may well have been involved in some of those groups on Facebook. So you know that is actually something that is quite powerful. So there are benefits of Facebook: its reach, its functionality, and some of the things it allows you to do that other platforms don't do. But there are things that are downsides or things that you need to consider. And whatever platform you're looking at, one of the first things you need to be thinking about is, who are your audience? What platform would your audience spend time on? Now, Facebook is pretty much popular between those over 40, those over 45. That is really the core audience of Facebook. That is typically who is there. So if that's your audience, that is great. And Facebook may well be for you if you want to take advantage of building communities, of getting those groups together where you're getting dialogue, because Facebook's really keen on that because it keeps people on the platform. All these platforms are all about trying to keep you on there. So Facebook sees that building those communities, having those kind of groups and chats is where they want people to be. So a community page is far more effective than a business page, for example. So if you're about that, if you want to be involved in that kind of thing, Facebook may well be useful for you. Now, what I'd encourage you to remember about Facebook is that, like a lot of these platforms, Facebook is not typically a place people go to look for things. It's a place they go to spend time, maybe for that sense of community. They're not typically going there looking to solve a problem. That's really important to understand, and I'll come back to that later. The second platform is Instagram, which is owned by Meta, the same company as Facebook. There's a lot of integration between it. There's a lot of sharing there, but it's quite a different approach. So Instagram is much more simple in lots of ways. You can't do all the things. You don't have all those functions around groups and communities that you do in Facebook. Instagram is much more about the visual. It is much more about the catching the attention, the visual, and it is a short attention span on Instagram. It's typically a younger audience than you'll get on Facebook. And what I'd say is, again, it's all about your audience. If your audience are 20-somethings, if your audience are interested in health, beauty, well-being, travel, where things are about appearance, that is a good place to be on Instagram if that is your market and if that is what you want to be covering off. Okay, so there's a lot of downsides with Instagram. It's shorter attention span. It's quite hard to get people linking through from Instagram into your website or your own platforms that you own and control. And in lots of ways it's quite superficial. But if your thing is about impact and impression, if that is the way you want to drive your business, if that is what your audience is about, then Instagram may well be the thing for you. Now again, as I said, it's owned by Meta, the same company as Facebook, and there are benefits of that. There are also some challenges with that in my experience, and I think a lot of you as well. There are quite a few challenges when things go wrong with Facebook. It's very hard to get support. It's quite easy to do something wrong and find yourself getting blocked, getting banned. So there are quite a few issues around that, and usually if something goes wrong with Facebook, if there's a problem, you're going to be in some horrendous matrix that you'll never get to speak to anybody about. The only time you can really seem to get support from Meta is if you spend a lot of money on advertising and you've got some kind of named contact. So that is a challenge that exists there. Okay, so number 3 is TikTok. TikTok in lots of ways a bit like Instagram, a younger audience, and it's become very, very popular. Now TikTok is still easier to get traction on, to basically go viral on, to get organic reach. It's easier, the evidence is showing it's easier still to do that on TikTok than it is on Facebook or Instagram. Okay, so in some ways it's easier to scale upon there, it's easier to get noticed, it's easier to go viral. A lot harder than it used to be, but it is relatively easier. It's quite fun as well. You can play with it, it's quite amusing, it's quite fun. Part of the reason it attracts that younger audience, and it's quite easy to produce quite good quality content on there, much easier than it is on some of the other platforms in my opinion. Now the audience is even younger, so if you're working with young adults, with teens, again that might be a good place for you to engage with that audience in the format and the place where they hang out. Downsides of course are, does that young audience have money? The attention span is possibly even shorter. And then there are of course bigger picture things you need to consider around volatility. So particularly if you're, let's say, in the US, we've seen we've seen TikTok being banned or being threatened to be banned because it's Chinese owned. There are some concerns there about data and about security, and there's certainly issues about it being used as a political football. So if something you need to be mindful of if you're making that the platform that you go for, particularly if you're in the US, particularly if you're concerned about data. Okay, so the next one I'm going to move on to is X. Some of you might decide you don't want to be involved with it because of Elon Musk. Some of you might decide you do want to be involved with it because of Elon Musk. That's purely a personal thing. But it is a platform that does have its strengths and its benefits. And the biggest benefit of X, I'll try not to call it Twitter, keep falling into that. The biggest benefit really of X is its currency. It is right there at the moment. It's ahead of the news in reporting things. So if there's something going on and you want to be contributing to that, if there's a news story that you want to contribute to, that you want to add value to, if there's a conversation going on that you want to inject yourself into, a thread that you want to get into, if there are groups that you want to be talking into there, then X is very, very powerful for that. Okay, so to keep current, to get into there, and to add value into conversations, you can give yourself profile. The downsides of it are you post something on there, it's what we used to say in the UK, it's like yesterday's chip wrapper, yesterday's newspaper. It's here today and it's gone tomorrow. In fact, it's probably gone even before tomorrow. It has currency in terms of being there right there in the moment, but it certainly doesn't have any longevity. Okay, so if you want to be successful on Twitter, you have got to be posting regularly, and that means like multiple times a day to be there to maintain that visibility, because it's there and it's gone. Twitter, X as well, is a pretty brutal place. It's a pretty brutal place. There's a lot of very hard conversations there, which means that for a lot of people that will rule it out, something you don't want to be involved in. Okay, so that's X. And then let's move on then to the next one, which is LinkedIn. So if business entrepreneurs is your marketplace, if they are your avatar, the people you want to sell to, that is the place where you probably want to be posting your content. And LinkedIn has a lot of benefits. Again, it has quite a lot of different sorts of functionality, personal pages, business pages, the ability to post videos as well as to post written posts. It's also very good for networking. It includes messenger capability as well for the ability to communicate with other people. Now, the downsides to LinkedIn, actually, let me go back. There is another upside to LinkedIn, and that is that content, while I wouldn't quite call it evergreen, it's certainly got a lot more longevity than content on X, on Instagram, and on Facebook, although some parts of Facebook does have a bit more currency. But LinkedIn has quite a lot more longevity. You can post content and it can still be valid and still be around and seen by people well beyond the day that you post that on. So that's really, really important. But there are some downsides to LinkedIn, and probably one of the biggest ones is that people are not very active on LinkedIn. It has one of the lowest engagement rates from all of those social media platforms, whereas if people are active on Facebook or on Instagram, they're typically going on that regularly every day. People will can go days or weeks without going into LinkedIn. They may only go in for a certain thing, or if some alert pops up for them. So it's not very, very active. And again, with the messenger, we've got used to using WhatsApp, where we send something to somebody, they've seen it, we know they've seen it, and we have that very, very rapid conversation with people. You then got Messenger with Facebook, which is a lot less people are active on, but it's still probably more effective than LinkedIn Messenger, where literally people can not see things for weeks. By the time they see it, the whole conversation, you've forgotten what it was you wanted to talk to them about. So there's that lack of engagement on LinkedIn, which means that while the right people are there, how often are they there? Are they seeing you regularly enough to basically engage with your content, or for you to make an impact with them? I think LinkedIn's also become quite scammy, quite spammy, probably more spammy than scammy, in the sense of you just get lots of people messaging you with kind of very poorly focused attempts to sell, very sort of lazy, annoying, spammy kind of messages you get asking if you want to buy all sorts of things. I'm sure we've all had that. So that's LinkedIn. And then I'm going to move on to the final one, which is YouTube. Now, obviously, YouTube is quite different. It's kind of like a polar opposite of something like X, in that it is about video. It is all about the visuals. It is all about the visuals. It's leading with the visuals. It has historically always been long form. Now there's a lot more of a focus on sort of short form, shorts, those clips, because they felt they needed to do that to compete with some of the other platforms. But really what they want is people on there engaged in that long form content. That is really, really what they want, and that is what they value most of all. That's what they monetize most of all. So what are the benefits of YouTube? And there are many benefits of YouTube, and it's no coincidence that this is the last platform that I am choosing to talk about. And the first benefit of YouTube is that it is evergreen. It is not yesterday's newspaper. It is not yesterday's chip wrapper that's been thrown in the bin. It is there, and it's good for months and even years to be found. And in fact, with YouTube, videos can actually gain popularity over time as the algorithm, as the platform starts to place where they should be, who's engaging with it, where they think it should be. You can actually grow that quite steadily. So there's a huge amount of longevity there, and that work that you go into creating that content is not going to be something that's there for a long time. And unlike posting on X, where you need to post multiple times a day, if you're posting something on YouTube once a week, that is enough. That's certainly enough for the kind of work that we do as RTT therapists or hypnotherapists. Okay, so that evergreen nature, that being valuable for a long period of time, is incredibly important. The second thing that is massive about YouTube is that YouTube is a search engine. It is the world's second biggest search engine after Google. Yeah, it's bigger than Bing and all of those things. It is a massive search engine. And the only search engine that is bigger is Google, and Google and YouTube are also the same company. And so YouTube content will also show up on Google search. And whatever people tell you, Google still matters even in this day of AI. So ranking on YouTube is very, very powerful. Google actively promote YouTube. And YouTube, just like all the other platforms, what they want to do is keep people there for as long as possible. So if you're going on Google and searching, you will probably notice that after the sponsored content comes the organic content, and it's not far below it. And always, and nearly always at the top of that, if it exists, content exists for that subject, they're going to show videos first. Why? Because people like videos, and because people like videos, they stay on there for long, so they're going to stay longer on their platform. So that's really, really important. So in terms of organic reach, you can be very successful with YouTube. You can produce content that scales, that grows, and keeps building your authority, keeps building your credibility. The third thing that is incredible about YouTube is that it's helping your clients, your potential clients, become familiar with you, become comfortable with you. And those of you who've seen me talking about how to scale your RTT business or your hypnotherapy practice will know that knowing you, trusting in you, being comfortable with you is incredibly important. People aren't going to get comfortable with you from seeing posts on many other platforms in the same way that they will by watching a 10, 20, 30-minute video where you're talking about something with knowledge, with authority on YouTube. The next point of what is really good about YouTube is once you get to a certain number of subscribers, and it does change from time to time. I think it might be 1,000 as you need a bit of time to get there, but it will let you quite easily link off to your website, to your other platforms. You can drive people from YouTube to your website, to your mailing list, so you're getting them to where you want to get to. You can drive them into looking at the next video you want to look at. You can drive them to a link. You can drive them onto having a discovery call with you from there. So it's really, really powerful for doing that. Okay, so there are very, very powerful things. There are powerful reasons for this being a platform of choice. Now, of course, like all of them, there are some downsides. There are some downsides. And like all the platforms, actually, what this applies to all the platforms, is there is a downside about being dependent upon a platform. So while in my experience, you're much less likely to run into problems with YouTube than you are with Facebook or Instagram for doing something you don't even know what you've done wrong. I've known very famous YouTubers who've inadvertently had something in a video. Maybe it was someone walking past in a branded t-shirt, maybe it was a word that was picked up in the background being said by somebody that gets them demonetized, that gets them banned, that gets their account closed. So all of these platforms, you've got to be really, really careful of that. All of these platforms, you want to be using it to draw people towards you, but you want to be getting them onto your website. Anyone who tells you you don't need a website, run a mile. They do not know what they're talking about. You do need a website. You need to drive people to your website. You need to get people onto your mailing list. You need to get people onto calls with you on platforms that you own, that you control, where you own the data and see the data and can use the data for your and your clients' benefits. Okay, so that applies to all of the platforms, but specifically for YouTube, some of the downsides are it takes a lot of time. Okay, it can quite easily take you a year to really build your credibility on YouTube. But also you need to remember on the upside of that you're not, unless you're doing this for vanity, or unless you're trying to get monetized, which you can get monetized, it's not that hard, it takes some effort, but you're not going to make a fortune unless you want to try and be the next Mr. Beast. Your money comes from driving people, from using it as a business tool to give credibility, to give awareness, to get people into conversations with you. But it does take time, okay? So you have got to put time into creating content. You've got to do that consistently. Once a week is enough, and you can do it, okay? You don't need millions of followers, you don't need millions of views. You want good engagement, okay? So that's really, really important. Again, some other downsides to it is they are increasingly driving people, I think because they feel they have to, given the rise of TikTok, they're driving people towards shorter content. So they're kind of driving that movement towards shorter attention spans, but what they still really want is that long form content. And that is the stuff that really gives you credibility, gives you engagement. Okay. The other downsides, of course, are ones that many people have, which is that it's the fear of speaking to the camera, of speaking in front of an audience. So if you're camera shy, it's something you need to overcome, something you need to learn to deal with. And yes, you can use some AI tools and things like that, but really you still want to be putting yourself, your authentic self out there. And part of that is actually not really worrying, not really caring about what people say, okay? And the more you do it, the more comfortable you'll get with it. But you don't have to be perfect. I mean, look at me. I just make these things, I just talk. And generally, when I have made some videos using AI or had them professionally produced by people, and actually the videos that get most engagement are the ones of me just talking, just being authentic, unscripted, just saying what I think people want to hear about. So you don't have to be perfect, okay? People don't expect you to be perfect. It's all about building that rapport with people, and in fact, being too polished is actually can actually count against you, because people feel uncomfortable with someone who is too polished, too corporate. So that is the core around using YouTube. Lots of upsides. It takes a bit of time. You've got to break that. You've got to get over that fear. But again, one of the good things about this is that the fear of public speaking is massive for so many people, which means if you can do that, if you can jump into that, then you are going to get a big advantage on all those people who go, I can't do that, it's a bit too scary for me. And I can help you with that as well. I'm a trained public speaker. I can help you overcome your fear, help you get confidence. It's part of what I teach to my clients, to the people I work one-on-one with, to help them build their RTT or hypnotherapy practice. So I can help you with that. And once you get going, you'll roll. And you know, as an RTT therapist or a hypnotherapist, we can help ourselves overcome all of these fears and embrace being out there, helping people, sharing our knowledge. So that's what you need to know about YouTube. Now, I said to you that there are two key things that you need to understand, and now I'm going to share those things with you before I finish this video. because these are two of the most important things you will learn, and I keep pushing this to people because people don't yet understand this. They need to understand this, and these are the things that are going to truly make you successful. And the first of these things is that you need a system. Just like when you've learned RTT or when you've learned your particular type of hypnotherapy, you have been taught in a systematic way. You've been taught how to do things in a systematic way, to break it into bite-sized chunks so you can take it on board, so you can learn it, so you can implement it. And you deliver, certainly if you're doing RTT, you're delivering under a framework, under a methodology. You know how it works. You know what to do, you know the next steps. And if things take an unexpected turn, you've always got that framework, that system to come back to. Now the problem in marketing is no one's taught you a marketing system. Certainly not a marketing system that works. What you've probably had is lots of snippets, or you've got lots of point things going on, like do I need a website? Which is the right social media platform? I'm doing adverts, whatever that is. I'm buying some lead generation, all of which have some kind of place but are rarely effective. And the end result of these things is that people end up spending a long time, spending a lot of money, getting frustrated, getting overwhelmed, and getting to the point where they wonder if this is going to work for them. So actually what you need is a system that works for RTT, that works for hypnotherapy generally, that will take you on that journey where you'll do the things that you need to do, where you'll absolutely make sure you avoid doing the things that you don't need to do, that are off-piste. You have a pathway, you know where to go. You make sure that you avoid doing the wrong things, you keep doing the right things, you're consistent in doing those things. And if something isn't working, you can look at that system and understand which part of that system. So for example, in our Boost system that we teach people in Boost Academy, we take people through the whole process of building their brand, building their offering, building out their marketing outreach, building the systems and the technology that go behind that, putting that all together into a system that works continuously, that takes away the overwhelm, that automates things, that gets results for people. So if something isn't working, they can quickly look at that system and work out which part of the system, which part of the process needs attention. It means you don't get overwhelmed. It means you don't go looking for silver bullets. It means that when someone goes, hey, I can get you 25 leads guaranteed in a month, you don't really believe it, but you do it because why not? You've got nothing to lose, and then you've wasted a whole month down the line with people who simply can't deliver. So that is thing number one. You need a system. Check out our system. It works for RTT therapy. It was designed for RTT therapy. It's worked for me. It works for others. It is a good, effective system that will get you where you want to quicker without the overwhelm. And of course, there are other systems as well, but I haven't come across many that are actually proven in our environment. They're designed by people like me who combine that marketing knowledge with having successfully built and run an RTT or hypnotherapy practice. Now, the second thing that you need to do is to get help, to recognize that just like you were taught how to do RTT therapy, unless you know this, unless you already are an expert in marketing and you've worked out the psychology and understand how to market this kind of business, you need to get help from someone who knows how to do that, whether that's me or whether that's somebody else. You need to do that, okay? There are lots of people out there who are probably offering you things. And what you really need to make sure is, does that person really understand your business? Do they really understand the psychology of how and why people buy RTT therapy, how they buy hypnotherapy? They need to understand about how therapists think. If somebody's trying to push you down this route where you're constantly posting, where you're constantly creating content, where you're doing hardcore sales calls, where you're going out there chasing people, where you're learning closing techniques, things like that, I would suggest that is probably not for you. So definitely get help, but really be sure that that person understands what is comfortable for you, what would feel good for you, what feels good for your clients, and what works. Because I can tell you, in this environment, Lots of traditional selling marketing techniques absolutely do not work. In fact, they have the opposite effect. I'm a big believer that you've got to create this pull environment where you draw clients towards you who are ready to buy, who are absolutely ready to buy. And that comes back now to my final point, putting together all of these social media platforms in terms of making your choice. Now, you remember that I said how YouTube is a search engine. LinkedIn is not a search engine, but it does rank quite highly on search as well, so there's some benefits for that there. But here's the thing, is when people are looking to buy something, they search for it. They type in the phrases that they want, that they're looking for. RTT for anxiety, hypnotherapy for phobias, whatever that search title might be. They go actively looking for that. And where do they go to that? Well, typically they'll go to Google or they go to YouTube, the two top search engines, okay? And they do not typically go to Facebook. They do not typically go to any of those other social platforms. People go there, it's social media, they go there to see what's going on, to kill some time. Now, you can, of course, get traction, get credentials of being in groups where you build up your credibility over time. And again, on Facebook, as you'll see, within our own community, that is quite a powerful thing. But you do not want to be trying to create demand. You do not want to be creating awareness, okay? You even on adverts for things like Facebook, you can choose whether you want awareness, and a lot of people spend money to get awareness. You're going to burn a lot of money doing that. What you want to do is you want to be putting yourself in front of people who want to buy, who are ready to buy, who are in buying mode. That's how you're going to build a thriving, successful practice. You do not want to be trying to market make or create demand or create awareness for people who may well never be ready to buy, because when they're ready to buy, they're going to go and search, and they're going to search on YouTube and Google. So that's where you want to be focusing, okay? That is what's really, really effective. And just to put this into context, I now probably get 40 to 50% of all of my work coming through YouTube. That's where people typically find me, and it works really, really well, because by the time they come on a call with me, they've seen me, they've watched several of my videos, they know what I'm about, they're comfortable with me, comfortable with my voice, and it just leads into a very natural conversation where people are ready to buy if I can help them, if I'm the right person for them. So I hope you found this useful, and if you're looking for help, if you recognise that you need that system, if you believe that you want to have that support that's going to help you get there quicker, make more money, overcome that overwhelm, then click on the link down below. You can set up a free conversation with me. I do look forward to seeing you in the next video.